Stocks on Wall Street end higher. S&P 500 closes above 6,600 for the first time, and the Nasdaq also notches record levels. Investors cheer President Trump's positive comments on trade with China. The two-day FOMC meet also begins today. Asian markets open higher, tracking gains from Wall Street. Japan's benchmark Nikkei 225 breaches 45,000 mark to hit a fresh high. The GIFT Nifty is indicating a flat open for our own Indian market. Crude oil prices hold steady as traders contemplate potential supply disruption from Russia after Ukrainian drone attacks on its refineries. Gold prices hit record high as dollar and yields rise. All eyes on the Fed's decision tomorrow. America's top trade negotiator, Brendan Lynch, has arrived in India and will hold negotiations for the first time since Trump administration imposed 50% tariffs on the country. US and China reach a framework agreement on TikTok. Treasury Secretary Bessent says Trump and Chinese President Xi will hold a call on Friday. Good morning in the Mumbai News Centre. I am Vamakshi Doria. You're watching Power Breakfast. Well, it's the day of the Nifty expiry, and let's take a look at what the Asian markets are doing. For now, it's a green-looking screen. Japan's Nikkei had managed to surpass beyond the 45,000 mark. It has cooled off since, but nevertheless still trading in the green. What's actually doing well is the Hang Seng. That index is up almost 0.6%. Taiwan is actually outperforming that as well, up almost 0.9%. The Kospi too trading in the green with a gain of 0.9%, and Shanghai is also doing quite well, and this comes in after there was a positive handover that came in from Wall Street. All three indices in the US markets closed higher, and this is after Trump indicated that the talks between US and China were going well. That is how the Asian markets are doing. But take a look at what the GIFT Nifty is indicating. It's a flat start. This is something that we've seen India underperform throughout the year, and today is not different, down 5 points for our own Indian markets. But first up, now let's move on and speak about all the overnight cues that have impacted the Indian market. We have our research team joining in with the trade setup as well as the stocks that are likely to be in the news. First up, Hormas joins in to get us all the market cues we need to watch out for today. Hormas, good morning.
Good morning, Vamakshi. And you may be seeing that the index may be in snooze mode, going back into consolidation after an 8-day rally, and it's only apt. We spoke about this yesterday morning as well. Some buyer exhaustion emerging at higher levels, and that turned out to be the case. Now, the Nifty did test that August 21st swing high of 21,154, led by the Nifty Bank, which also managed to cross the 55,000 mark intraday, but both of them traded in a range. Both of them could not sustain at those higher levels, and both of them managed to. Nifty Bank ended at the flat line. The Nifty closed below the flat line, and today as well, it's found the Nifty, if you take a look at the trajectory, even Friday's high and Monday's high are almost the same, 25,138 and 139, and that's where the resistance lies for the index. For the Nifty Bank as well, 55,000 continues to remain an important level on the upside, and for the Nifty as well, although it is in consolidation mode, it made a higher low for the 7th straight trading session as well. Now today, of course, is the NSE weekly expiry as well. Although the index is in a range, the broader markets are outperforming. A lot of stock specific activity taking place, and most of these stock specific moves are outsized moves, either in double digits on either upside or on the downside. Keep a watch on stocks that will be reacting to order wins today. There are multiple such names. There are also stocks the railway stocks that rallied yesterday. We'll see if there are any follow-up moves today, and important to see which way the IT stocks move today. They have been oscillating between gains and losses over the last few sessions, particularly so because the Nasdaq made a record high overnight. But for now, the index remains in consolidation mode. The GIFT Nifty implying a subdued start to the weekly expiry session.
Well, thank you so much for that, Hormas. Now over to Ria, who will list out all the stocks we need to watch out for in the trading session today. Ria.
Well, good morning, Vamakshi. Let's take a look at the stocks to be in focus today. The first one is Canara Bank. Since its arm Canara HSBC Life has received SEBI's go-ahead for its IPO prospectus. Apart from this, a lot of stocks to be in focus on the back of order wins. The first one is Sangvi Movers. They have received work orders worth around rupees 292 crores from various power producers. Adani Enterprises has received an LOA for the Kedarnath ropeway project worth rupees 4,081 crores. For NCC, they have bagged orders worth around rupees 2,091 crores from the Bihar government for the construction of the Baner reservoir scheme. Mishra Dhatu Nigam has also received orders worth about rupees 136 crores, and Trans Rail Lighting has received orders worth around rupees 421 crores in Africa, and the FY26 order inflows for the company have crossed the 3,500 crore mark. Apart from this, JSW Infra will be in focus since JSW Kolkata Containers has entered into a concession agreement with the Port Authority for a period of 30 years. Bajaj Finserv will also be in focus. There has been some relief for the subsidiary company Bajaj Alliance General Insurance. They have won a rupees 374 crore dispute against the Maharashtra government in the Bombay High Court. And one pharma stock is also going to be in focus today, that is Zydus Life. They have launched 2 new products under Zyvet Animal Health.
Well, thank you so much for that, Riya. And finally, we now have Sudarshan joining in with cues from the world of F&O. Sudarshan, what are you watching out for?
Good morning, Vamakshi. So today it's a weekly expiry, and good part is that market, though it remains in a consolidation phase, that broader market continues to see buying. And yesterday also we saw both Nifty Bank and Midcap Index closing in the green, while Nifty failed to hold to levels around 25,150, but still the close in the red was just with a minor cut. So good sign, there is no sign of fresh shorts from FI, so it might be taken positively. Also on the volatility front, volatility index closed at the near record low. Now coming to the flows. On the institutional flow, yesterday we saw FI selling nearly 1,300 crore, DIs have bought almost 2,000 crore, and also FI long exposure remains around 12%. In the index futures, they have bought more than 200 crore, and they have just reduced minor long positions by 82 contracts, and on the short side, they have reduced positions by nearly 1,300 contracts. From the options data, on the call options, both 25,100 call and 25,200 calls saw huge open interest build up, but at the same time, we saw a fall in the premium. For 25,100, premium has fallen to 46 from 92. For 25,200, premium has fallen to 15 from 44. And 25,100 put has seen and again dip in the premium to 45 from 58. So the option data indicates you that market may remain in consolidation phase going forward as well. For now, support for Nifty remains around 24,900. Resistance again remains around 25,154. That's the recent high. For Nifty Bank, support would be previous day's low of 54,620, and first resistance would be 55,000, and if we manage to cross that, next resistance comes around 55,630. Stocks in the bank, RBL Bank, OFSS, HFCL, and yesterday Angel One has entered the band. 2 stocks have taken. Amber Enterprises, there are reports of that QIP might come, and second was yesterday we saw again sector rotation was in play, and there was a buying in the real estate names and prestige states trading near to very important levels.
Well, thank you so much for that comprehensive roundup, Sudarshan. But on that note, let's slip into a very short break. Up next, we get you cues from Wall Street and more trade-related updates, so don't go anywhere. Thanks for staying tuned in to Power Breakfast. America's top trade negotiator Brendan Lynch has arrived in India to hold negotiations for the first time since Trump administration imposed 50% tariffs. Now this comes as US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick criticized India for not opening up its farm products market to America. Trump's top trade advisor Peter Navarro also maintained his rhetoric on India and reacted to the SCO summit in China, where Prime Minister Modi met China's Xi Jinping and Russia's Putin. Let's listen in.
Prime Minister Modi sent out a very conciliatory, nice, constructive tweet, whatever they do in India, And President Trump responded to that. We'll see that. This is how this works. But as a practical matter, we know that on the trade side, they have the highest tariffs of any major country. They have very high non-tariff barriers. We had to deal with that like we're dealing with every other country that does that. They use that money to buy Russian oil, and then the Russians use that to buy weapons, and then we as taxpayers have to pay more for the defense of Ukraine. And so how can that be? And watching Modi on a stage with China, which has been its longtime existential threat, and Putin, that was an interesting stretch.
Well, the United States and China have reached a basic framework to switch the short video app TikTok to US-controlled ownership. This will be confirmed in a call between President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping on Friday. Take a look at this report.
The United States and China have reached a framework agreement to switch TikTok to U.S.-controlled ownership. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent spoke to reporters on Monday in Madrid, where negotiations with senior Chinese officials were taking place.
We have a framework for a TikTok deal. The two leaders, President Trump and Party Chair Xi, will speak on Friday to complete the deal.
Bessent said further details would be determined in Friday's call between Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping.
We're not going to talk about the commercial terms of the deal. It's between two private parties, but the commercial terms have been agreed upon.
Bessent said a looming deadline that could have switched off the popular short video social media app in the U.S. pushed Chinese negotiators to reach an agreement. He also said the commercial terms of the deal will preserve aspects of TikTok that Chinese negotiators care about. Bessent added, quote, "We don't care about Chinese characteristics. We care about national security." China's top trade negotiator, Li Chengyang, had this to say.
The
U.S. side has generalized national security concerns and continuously expanded its sanctions list against Chinese entities. Its long-arm jurisdiction has reached deeper and further. This is a typical act of unilateral bullying, which violates international law and the basic norms of international relations. China firmly opposes this and raised serious concerns with the U.S. side during the talks.
Any agreement could require approval by Congress, which passed a law in 2024 requiring TikTok's Chinese owner, ByteDance, to sell the platform to an American company or face a ban. The U.S. has signaled fears that data from TikTok's 170 million American users could be accessed by the Chinese government. But Trump has sought a way of keeping the app open to Americans. He praised the TikTok deal on Monday. Earlier on Monday, a U.S. official with knowledge of the negotiations had said that the U.S. would press ahead with a ban on TikTok if China didn't drop its demands for reduced tariffs and technological restrictions as part of a deal.
Well, former U.S. Secretary Carlos Gutierrez, meanwhile, believes a deal will not be finalized in the next 2 weeks, but says the TikTok deal provides momentum to extend the deadline. Listen in.
China understands that rare earths are very important for the U.S., especially now when they have so much dominance. So they're leveraging that in the negotiations. They're pushing it as hard as they can, and what they want is for loosened export controls. Now, I don't think a deal would be reached in the next couple of weeks, but TikTok has been the savior of these talks, and it could well be that an agreement on TikTok gives justification to both sides to extend the November 10 deadline out another 90 days. So that's why so much focus is TikTok. And right now, that seems to be the light at the end of the tunnel in terms of these talks right now in Madrid.
Well, and in the U.S. market, stocks rose after President Donald Trump said that U.S.-China trade negotiations were going well, while investors also braced for a key Federal Reserve meeting. The S&P 500 marked another record close, while Nasdaq also hit a new record high. CNBC's Contessa Brewer brings us all the details.
New records once again at the U.S. market close for the S&P 500 and for the Nasdaq
after President Trump said trade negotiations with China are going well. The Dow added 49 points, the S&P 500 added 31, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq was up by 208. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is in Spain for trade talks between the U.S. and China, and he said Monday the two countries have established a framework for a deal over TikTok. President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping are expected to finalize that deal Friday when they're scheduled to speak. Bessent said two private parties have agreed to the terms. No comment from TikTok, but its parent company, ByteDance, is facing a September 17th deadline to divest its U.S. business or shut down here. U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer said that deadline may get pushed back again to accommodate a deal closing. Tesla shares were up 4% Monday after CEO Elon Musk disclosed he bought about $1 billion in stock, his largest purchase ever. And investors seem to interpret that as a vote of confidence from the CEO. Musk rarely buys his own stock. In fact, the last time was February 2020 when he bought about $10 million worth of shares.
Contessa, thank you so much for that. Now, shifting focus to the important Federal Reserve meet, the two-day meet begins today. And CNBC's Steve Leisman brings us the details on what's at stake for Jerome Powell and the central bank.
There's a lot for those eyes to be looking at with a little Fed meeting mayhem. Just under 18 hours to go before the Fed begins its two-day meeting. Unclear how many voters will be there. Relative confidence, however, in how the voters will vote. Here's what's in play right now. The administration asked for an appeals court to overturn the Cook injunction against her firing by the president sometime by today, so we're watching the docket. The Senate's supposed to vote on the nomination of CEA Chair Stephen Myron, so we're watching the Senate. Cloture vote supposed to happen at 5:30, full vote at 8 o'clock. So there could be 10, could be 11, could be 12 voters at the Fed meeting tomorrow. We don't know. May not know till late tonight. Beyond personnel, the Fed has to deal with economic issues, inflation running above the 2% target, unemployment ticking up, and they have to find a compromise between hawks and doves, both worried about different sides of the mandate there. The futures market, not troubled by either the personnel or the economic issues. They overwhelmingly are priced for 3 cuts this year, 1 at each of the remaining 3 meetings. If Myron is approved, there will be considerable speculation about what you might call the Myron dot. President Trump was complaining that the funds rate, 300 basis points too high. No Fed official has the future dot anywhere near that. We'll see where Myron comes in. He remains, however, the chair of the President's Council of Economic Advisors on unpaid leave of absence. So it remains to be seen if he forecasts deep rate cuts. That could drive down the average rate that the market focuses on, but for the outlook for the Committee for Rates. Now, we could have dissents, Dom, in favor of a cut bigger than 25, and even a dissent for no cut at all.
Well, former Federal Reserve Vice Chairman Roger Ferguson believes Jerome Powell will not close the door on more rate cuts this year. Listen in.
Hear from Jay Powell at the press conference is that the next series of meetings are, quote, live. But I think you used a word that's going to be really important, which is the data. I think we're going to hear again, this is the data-dependent Fed. We want to be cautious. So I don't think he's going to close the door on the possibility of more cuts this year, but I'm not sure that he's necessarily going to signal that it's a definite thing. I think he's going to more likely say, you know, every meeting is an independent decision and the data will decide.
All right, on that note, let's slip into a very short break. Up next, we get you cues from the commodities market, so don't go anywhere. Thanks for staying tuned into Power Breakfast. Let's focus in on the world of commodities. My colleague Manisha Gupta is here with all the updates. Well, Manisha, gold continues to glitter.
Oh, well, yes, it's an unstoppable rally as we have seen when it comes to gold there. Yet another all-time high is what we've seen in the overnight markets there. And with that, gold has now hit $3,687 an ounce. The prices have gained up by some 12% in the past month, but they are 40% up in this year by now. It all has to do with the U.S. Fed meeting. The two-day meeting starts today, and a 25 basis point rate is factored in. The markets also believe that there could be 3 rate cuts of 25 basis point each in this year, and there is a 67 probability of that. So that is what the street seems to be working with right now. In addition to that, the Fed quarterly summary of economic projection also would be released. The markets also are keeping an eye on the U.S. and China presidents, which are slated to speak on Friday to finalize terms. And it's not just about gold. Silver is trading at a new 14-year highs. We have seen prices gain up by 48% in this year. The metals overall seem to be doing quite good as well, because you have copper, which is trading at a July 2025 high, aluminum and zinc trading at 6-month highs, crude oil price is trading at a 2-month high. So when you look at commodities overall, it's a very strong start to the day today, and this is all ahead of the U.S. Fed meeting.
Absolutely, and let's hope the gains in the commodities market also rub off on equities, but we'll wait for that. Moving on then, Israel's assault on Gaza intensified as large blasts and flashes were seen from southern Israel across the Gaza skyline today early morning. Health officials in Gaza report at least 57 people have been killed in the strikes. This comes even as U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is on a visit to Israel. Rubio also called on Qatar to continue to play a constructive role in resolving the Gaza conflict. Well, that's all we have on this edition of Power Breakfast. Don't go anywhere. Pasar Morning Call comes up next.